Good day to all of you. In this part of our webinar, we're going to tackle the latest trends and issues relevant to architecture and to our societal culture. Anyway, this is my first webinar and I am thankful to have this opportunity where I could share my knowledge as an architect to my fellow architects and to aspiring architects in the future, the architecture students. The title of our topic in this particular part of our webinar runs as follows: Meeting the requirements of the online connectivity generation while preserving the family culture in particular and the social culture as a whole. You may have noticed that our webinar has quite a long title. That's because it is composed of two problems. The first problem is how can architects incorporate into their design the requirements of the online connectivity generation, while at the same time, as the second problem, preserving the family culture in particular and the social culture as a whole. We enjoy the innovative products of the modernization. One of the particular and most significant products of modernization is the online connectivity. We can see how connectivity expedites communication and the transfer of information. Because of this, we can reach our loved ones who are far from us. We can run business from distant places or have classes or seminars even in these pandemic times. Online connectivity is indeed a modern necessity. Like transportation, it is difficult nowadays for the society to pursue without it. It is therefore necessary to consider the requirements of online connectivity into our architectural design approaches. Architects must study the requirements of the millennial societal necessity in order to achieve an effective design solution. In this part, we're going to tackle the advantages of online connectivity. We know how vast is the use of online connectivity. However, we only listed here 4 items because of the limited time that we have. Anyway, these 4 are the most common ones that we enjoy today. And first, we have the speedy communication, and we subcategorize this into chat, text messaging, emails, and video calls. We also have sub-listings for the video calls. These are the online video call platforms that are vastly used nowadays. These are the Messenger, the Google Meet, the Microsoft Teams, and the Zoom meeting. These online video call platforms prove to be very useful, especially during these times of pandemic, where we are ought to perform classes online. These applications or platforms made the online classes possible. Next in line, we have the speedy access and dissemination of information. Information today is just one click away. Whenever we have to do some researches, we don't need to go to the libraries and open huge and bulky books just to access information. All we have to do is to Google our subjects online and we can have vast and credible results. We are also familiar with the Global Positioning System or the GPS. This makes the maps of almost all parts of the world accessible to all online. One of the very useful sub-products of the GPS is the application Waze. This app guides and helps motorists to easily arrive or locate their destinations, even if their destinations are new or unknown to them. In number 3, we have the social media. We have 4 sub-listings for this. This includes YouTube, Facebook, TikTok, and Instagram. We experience how entertaining these online platforms are. We can publish photography on Instagram or our lifestyle on Facebook. The last but not the least, in fact, this is probably one of the most important and significant online trends that we are experiencing nowadays. This is the contact tracing. There are applications nowadays that is registration of information. QR-coded contact tracing is now introduced. This makes contact tracing more quick and efficient. This only shows how useful is online connectivity, even in these pandemic times. In this part, we're going to tackle the frequently asked questions or the facts. Anyway, we only allow at least 3 facts in this particular part of our webinar because of the limited time that we have, so to accommodate the entire message. On the other hand, we're not going to tackle all of the 3 frequently asked questions in a row, meaning we're only going to tackle and insert a particular question or questions into the areas of our report where they are significantly applicable. Question number 1 runs as follows. How can we, architects, consider the requirements of online connectivity into our design processes? Architectural approach. Nowadays, where online connectivity is already part of every human activity, architects, as the main architectural designers of buildings, structures, or complexes, or even cities and communities, have vital roles in accommodating these modern needs. Architects must consider and adapt into their design processes the requirements of online connectivity. Strategic location of cable antennas are already adopted basic design considerations. However, these considerations should extend into allocating effective and strategic spaces of LAN and Bluetooth connectivity. In school complexes, for example, the designers may strategically locate study and activity areas like libraries and laboratories in areas where the vicinity or local centralized connection is strong. This is to avoid the students or teachers from transferring locations into unwanted areas of the school premises just to access the strong internet signal. Since we already have tackled the positive effects or use of online connectivity into our society, in this part, we're also going to tackle the negative impact of online connectivity into our society. As modernization goes like a flow of the river, wild or smooth, we cannot halt it. Along with this flow are the changes we cannot as well refuse, but helplessly grasp. The advantage of these changes in return are however fanciful. It gives people better and easier means of living. Flying cars are now introduced, an invention that shall soon be serviceable to make local transportation easier and to lessen the volumes of traffic. Online connectivity is a helpful medium of information and communication. Yet, like an effective medicine that we take to furnish our bodies chemical longings or cure our illnesses, there are several negative effects of the massive and abusive adherence to connectivity of the users in the society. Families in particular strive to maintain conventional lifestyle and intimate communications, and in a more general point of view, the society as a whole struggles to retain the inflected elements of its culture. Now we go to our frequently asked questions number 2 and 3. The questions we're going to answer. The number 2 runs as follows. What are these elements in the society which are inflicted or harmed by online connectivity? And number 3 runs as follows. How are these societal elements being harmed? We're going to answer these questions simultaneously. Number 1, online connectivity hampers conventional interactions and communications. Number 2, it induces addiction to online games at all ages, especially the teens. Even toddlers nowadays are experts on how to operate cell phone games. These problems that emerge eventually affects the lives of the people in general. Particularly, online game addiction affects the academic performances of the students in almost all grade levels. This also affects the personal or family relationships and social relationships as a whole. Furthermore, as modernization emerges, people tend to grasp the new lifestyle that comes, forgetting the accustomed necessities that they used to have. Eventually, the traditional culture is overthrown by the modern means of living and lifestyle the people ought to adapt. Families as the smallest unit of the society lost their natural homey lights, which are given life by the intimate or casual interaction and conversations. These lights have been replaced with the lights of the gadgets that unknowingly cades everyone into fancy electronic means of communication. As a result, relationships are challenged. The children have lost their sweet freedom to interact and play under the moon or over the green fields, while supposedly bolstering their well-being physically, mentally, and or emotionally. The interactions that occur during the dinner times at the dining area or the living area or the intimate conversations during the bedtimes to the couples are hampered as online dining areas emerges, where the places where the family as the smallest unit of the society can take the bread together that brings life. The living areas were places where each and everyone can converse or play family games physically and interactively. The sleeping areas were the intimate places for the couples, where couples could solely share intimate moment, or to the kids, where the storytelling takes place. Nowadays, these strategic areas of the household have lost their essence and definitions. The dining areas nowadays become isolated as some family members tend to take their meals earlier or later than they accustomed because they are kids in their connection to their individual business outside their homes or as they are not done yet with their online games. The living areas become either internet hubs or online gaming hubs, and the sleeping areas become darker rooms lit only by the lights of the smartphones. Generally, in all of these areas, casual and intimate communications are halted. Every household member seems not to exist and is alienated. Eventually, the societal impact of this electronic means is imminent, and evidently, it inflicts harm to the traditional and healthy practices of the cultures of the world. Factors on how online connectivity hampers the family culture. Number 1. Constant and unhalted connection to the outside world or businesses. This includes classmates, friends, workmates. In number 2, we have online game addiction. And number 3, the cravings to current events. And in number 4, we have the social media entertainment platforms. We have the YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Architectural approach to the problem. Online connectivity is a leading industry of modernization in the millennial age. It is as well one of the primary contributors to the negative impacts of modernization. In both of these aspects, architects on the other hand have vital roles as designers of the community touchable cultures. Architects should design buildings, complexes, or cities with adherence to the requirements of online connectivity. At the same time, architects should propose architectural solutions on how to preserve family cultures in particular and the societal culture in general. As a solution to these rapidly emerging changes and requirements, architects can design contemporary buildings which are still friendly to the culture of the setting of the particular project. Prayer rooms of any religious group should be considered in every design requirement of commercial establishments. In institutions, playgrounds for the kids should be allocated with enough space for physical activities. In these areas, there should be readily available storage of all game tools for the kids to play. The storage could function exhibition shelves of the conventional games materials for the kids in the old times, but the kids could always borrow those materials and use them to places as the tumbalata, Chinese garter, PTO sticks, sports equipment, musical instrument, and etc. There can also be safe-keeping lockers of mobile phones where the kids can play confidently assured that their phones are safe. In the homes, architects could also propose a safe gadget keeper where everybody can temporarily store their electronic gadgets while engaged in important family affairs. In at times, when the family as the smallest unit of the society can get rid of gadgets at times that they prefer. Architectural space requirements that can help preserve culture. Number 1, free rooms. Number 2, open playgrounds if the size of the complex allows. In number 3, we have the yoga rooms and or meditation rooms, and we have the landscapes if the size of the complex allows. Since online connectivity is not necessary in these spaces should be off from connection to maintain the essence of their functions. Signals should be deprived in these areas. Offline status can halt everyone who comes in these areas from using their mobile phones and access internet. As a result, the introductions and solemnity in these areas shall be encouraged. This will temporarily free the occupants of these areas from the chains of the fancy world of online connectivity. In these areas, online connectivity may just hamper the functionality of these spaces. It is therefore important to intentionally deprive these areas from online connection. Conventional interactions and personal verbal communication shall be then encouraged. Indeed, online connectivity as a significant product of modernization is very useful in this millennial age and is now a necessity. On the other hand, you cannot just set aside the negative effects of this technology if misused. It is therefore important to counterbalance these effects with solutions. Architectural approach is just one important vital solution for this problem, and architects are the core professionals on achieving these solutions. This problem may not be just resolved overnight, yet as we go on, the society shall one day become a setting of preserved culture and harmony. Thank you for listening into this particular part of our webinar. I hope that I have imparted in you the messages that I want to reach you.